Imagine you're standing at a really busy train station. You're waiting for someone you haven't seen since you were a little kid.
Right.
And suddenly you spot them walking towards you. But as they get closer, your stomach just totally drops
Oh, man.
because they're wearing the exact same dark blue jacket as you, the exact same pleated skirt, the exact same shoes.
Yeah.
They're even carrying like the exact same brand of purse. And incredibly, they're sporting a brand new, very specific short haircut. The exact same haircut you impulsively decided to get just 3 hours ago.
That is wild.
Right, you didn't plan any of this.
Yeah.
But the person standing in front of you is the identical twin sister you were separated from over 10 years ago.
It honestly sounds like the setup to like a psychological thriller. But that is a documented real-world example, and it's actually the perfect entry point for what we're exploring today.
Yeah, so welcome to a deep dive tailored specifically for you. We know you're here because you want to bypass all the surface-level noise and get straight to the profound, mind-bending concepts that, actually change how you see the world.
Exactly.
And today's topic is guaranteed to do exactly that. We are pulling apart a fascinating 4-part philosophical series. It was written in 2012 by Su Feng, and it's titled Looking for Your True Self.
It is a phenomenal text.
It really is. Our mission here, we're going to completely deconstruct your perception of free will, your identity, and the daily roles you play. We're asking one fundamental question. Are you actually the author of your life, or are you essentially a biological robot executing a pre-written script?
And to really grasp the magnitude of this philosophy, I want you to imagine the physical room around you right now, just dissolving.
Ooh, okay.
Picture the walls falling away, leaving us floating in this vast, surreal, starry cityscape. Because we have to zoom out. The scale Su Feng is dealing with isn't just human psychology, it's cosmic. And the baseline premise is deeply unsettling. It's that as humans, we control almost nothing.
Yeah, the series actually lists 18 specific parameters of your existence that are entirely beyond your control. Things like the era you were born into.
Which dictates everything.
Literally everything. Think
Yeah.
about that. Your entire worldview is pre-installed just based on whether you were born in 1420 or 2020. You don't control your race, your exact birth date, your physical height, who your parents are, or ultimately, the exact moment of your death.
We are utterly powerless over the foundational building blocks of our own lives. And, most people can accept that. You can't change your genetics.
Sure.
But we cling to the idea that our personality is our own. We believe we choose our hobbies, our careers, our partners. We see those as self-determined expressions of our individuality.
Right, that's what makes us us.
Exactly. But according to this framework, that is a complete illusion. In fact, Su Feng argues that if you can control even 10% of your habits, behaviors, and words, you are considered an extraordinarily rare human being.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because claiming that we don't even control our own hobbies requires some heavy proof.
It does.
And this is where we get back to those twins. The train station story is wild, but the other example in the source material is what genuinely gave me chills.
Oh, the Ohio twins.
Yes. It involves a pair of twin brothers from Ohio who were separated at a very early age. They grew up completely unaware of each other's existence.
39 years go by before they finally reunite.
39 years.
Yeah, and the discoveries they make about their parallel lives completely shatter the idea of coincidence. It wasn't just that they shared, similar mannerisms. Both men independently pursued legal educations.
Wow.
Both developed incredibly specific, identical passions for mechanical drawing and carpentry, and they both chose to vacation in the exact same city, St. Petersburg, Florida.
Which is already pushing the limits of probability.
Yeah.
But the choices we think of as the most intimately personal, or romantic partners or families, those were exactly the same too.
Cheery.
It really is. Both of these men had ex-wives with the exact same first name. When they remarried, their second wives also shared the exact same first name.
Yeah.
And to top it all off, they both named their sons the exact same name.
When you look at the mechanics of this, it is staggering. What's fascinating here is that during those 39 years apart, both men genuinely believed every single choice they made was an act of free will.
Totally.
They thought they were expressing their unique personalities when they picked out a vacation spot or named their child. But upon reuniting, the math becomes undeniable. Their preferences, their habits, the trajectory of their love lives, they were entirely prearranged. Su Feng attributes this to a mysterious consciousness.
See, this is where my brain starts short-circuiting.
here?
Because if our hobbies, our haircuts, and the names of our spouses aren't our own organic choices, who or what is actually pressing the buttons?
Right.
Like if I'm sitting on my couch playing a video game, mashing the buttons, I feel totally immersed. I think I'm making the character jump and run. But this philosophy suggests that if you look down, you realize your controller has been unplugged the entire time. The game was just playing a pre-rendered demo reel, and you were just pantomiming the actions.
That unplugged controller is a brilliant way to visualize it. In this framework, the mysterious consciousness holding the actual plugged-in controller is your true self.
Okay.
The character on the screen, the person with your specific name, your job title, your likes and dislikes, that is merely your false self. The false self is just a temporary avatar.
Interesting.
The true self is hidden entirely behind the scenes, executing a deeply embedded code that dictates the avatar's every move.
So if our personal preferences are just pre-programmed outputs, what does that mean for our social lives, our daily interactions? Am I just colliding with other programmed avatars? What are my emotional reactions? Are they even real?
This is where the philosophy gets incredibly sharp. Because the false self isn't just a neutral avatar, it's a survival mechanism. Shuifeng argues that human society is essentially a massive theatrical production, and 90% of people are acting out a social plot just to survive.
90%.
Yeah. We are constantly navigating a brutal friction between the true self, which wants absolute freedom, and the false self, which has to conform to the script.
And the example used to illustrate this is dark, but undeniably relatable. The series describes a widow receiving the news that her husband has died in a war. Publicly, she breaks down, she wails, she tears at her clothes, she displays absolute devastation to everyone around her. She does this because the social script, the heavy weight of cultural expectation, demands that a widow must display paralyzing grief.
But inwardly, mechanically speaking, something completely different is happening. Inwardly, her true self might be cheering, thinking, finally I am free.
Which sounds so shocking at first.
Yeah, it does. But the outward display is the false self running a survival protocol, catering to societal norms so she isn't ostracized. The true self operates completely outside those conventions. The source actually associates the true self with the concept of Tathagata.
Let's make sure we clarify that, because Tathagata can sound like some pretty heavy jargon.
Absolutely. In philosophical and Buddhist traditions, Tathagata refers to the ultimate, unconditioned reality of a being. It is the original, pure state of existence before society slaps a million labels on you.
Like a blank slate.
Exactly. It's the you that exists before you're told how to grieve, how to work, or how to behave.
It's the unfiltered operating system before all the bloated software updates are installed.
That's a perfect analogy.
Which makes you wonder how many conversations you have every day where the person across from you is just reading lines from their bloated software.
Most of them, probably.
We identify so intensely with our roles. We say, I am a mechanic, or I am a lawyer, or I am a mother. But this perspective insists that is factually incorrect. You are not a lawyer. You are just temporarily filling a role required by the overarching plot of human society. The phrase used here is that we are biological robots running on programmed procedures.
And we run those procedures flawlessly. We wake up, we go to school, we memorize information, we buy houses, we try to please our bosses, we conform to traditional ethics.
Yeah, we just check the boxes.
We do all of this because we mistake our physical reality for our true identity. To break this illusion, Shuifeng introduces a really compelling mirror concept.
Oh, I love this part.
If you look in a mirror right now, you think you are looking at yourself. But if you hold up a photograph for yourself at age 8, another at 18, and then the mirror reflection at 48, you are looking at 3 completely different physical entities.
The cellular structure, the shape, the expression, it's constantly shifting.
Right. Therefore, none of those physical forms can be the permanent, true you. They are just decaying shells.
But I have to step in here and push back on behalf of anyone listening, because intellectually, I get the mirror concept, but viscerally, I feel the stress of my mortgage. I feel the very real pressure to succeed at my job.
Oh, sure.
I feel immense guilt if I let my family down. Doesn't that deeply felt emotional reality prove that the human experience and this false self is actually real?
It proves exactly the opposite. In this framework, that emotional reality is the ultimate trap. Feeling that exact stress, feeling that crushing obligation to your family, to your mortgage, to societal customs, feeling fundamentally unfree, is the definitive mechanical proof that you are not living as your true self.
Wow.
The Tathagata, the true self, is completely unburdened and free. When you feel forced to laugh at a terrible joke your boss makes, or you feel pressured to buy a car you can't afford just to fit in with your neighbors, that internal misery you feel, that friction is the alarm bell of your soul.
It's the literal clash between your true self screaming for freedom and your false self being forced to execute the biological robot program. That friction is the alarm bell. I really love that. But it begs a massive question. If this social program makes us so utterly miserable and forces us to be fake 90% of the time, why don't we just wake up?
Right.
If we're all trapped in a deeply unsatisfying play, why doesn't someone just march up to the stage, turn on the house lights, and shout the truth to the audience?
Because the script of human society relies entirely on ignorance. 99% of people must stay in the dark or the system crumbles.
Right, the whole thing falls apart.
Completely. If everyone suddenly realized they were just biological robots reading lines, the entire structure of human civilization, the economy, the justice system, social hierarchies would instantly collapse. The play cannot continue if the actors know it's a facade. Waking up to this truth is not portrayed as some gentle, peaceful enlightenment. It is incredibly dangerous.
The danger of waking up. The series actually calls these moments tragedies of truth and provides some devastating examples of what happens when the illusion abruptly shatters.
Yeah, they are rough.
There's a story of a migrant worker who spends his entire life working grueling hours away from home. He endures all of it because he is happily raising a child. For 23 years, he believes he's building a legacy, a family. Then, a random DNA test proves the child isn't biologically his. The moment he learns the truth, his entire reality fractures. What was a comedy of a happy life instantly becomes a tragedy. The truth threw him into a whirlpool of pain because the role he was playing was suddenly deleted.
And the author also points to King Oedipus from Greek mythology as a mechanical example of this danger.
Oh, yeah.
Oedipus was successfully executing his script. He was a beloved king, he had a queen, he enjoyed the warmth of his family. He was, by all societal metrics, winning the human game.
Right, he was crushing it.
But then he uncovers the horrifying truth. He had accidentally married his own biological mother. The sudden injection of that profound truth into his false reality caused the queen to take her own life and drove Oedipus to blind himself and wander into exile. The truth literally destroyed him.
Right. And then there's the bluntest and maybe most haunting example provided, the pig.
Yeah, the pig.
A pig lives out its days happily eating and sleeping in its pen. It feels safe, it enjoys the sunshine. But what if, by some miracle, that pig suddenly understood the absolute truth of its existence?
It would be horrific.
Right. What if it comprehended that it was bred in captivity strictly to be slaughtered and consumed by humans? Could it live even one more day in peace? It would be paralyzed by absolute terror. The illusion of safety is the only mechanism keeping that pig functioning.
Exactly. And that terrifying realization leads Huifeng to aggressively question all of our earthly attachments, even the ones we consider sacred. If everything is a temporary role, then family ties themselves are part of the biological robot programming. The series challenges this through the lens of infinite reincarnation. It poses a highly uncomfortable question. Is your mother really your mother?
Right. Because if time and rebirth are an endless cycle, the daughter you are painstakingly raising in this lifetime could very well have been the mother who birthed you 500 years ago. The roles just keep shuffling.
Precisely. And to validate this perspective, the text points to a very specific moment in the life of Jesus.
Go.
When someone approaches Jesus and tells him that his mother and brothers are looking for him, Jesus famously responds, "Who is my mother? Whoever shall do the will of God, he is my brother and sister and mother."
So he's rejecting the biological label.
Yes. In this philosophical framework, Jesus wasn't speaking in metaphors. He was one of the incredibly rare beings who had entirely detached from the biological robot script. He refused to play the localized role of a son, recognizing his true self was tethered to a much larger cosmic reality.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Because when I hear this, I immediately think of the movie The Truman Show.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
If Truman Burbank discovered he was living on a giant fake television set too early before he had the psychological tools to process it, he would have lost his mind. He would have ended up in an asylum.
For sure.
So how are you supposed to just wake up tomorrow, commute to your office, sit in a fluorescent lit conference room, and look at your boss knowing that you're both just executing pre-written code? How do you function without going crazy?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, mechanically speaking, you function through your attachments. That is the genius and the trap of the system.
Okay, say more about that.
The things you actively desire, money, social status, a shining reputation, and the things you fear, failure, rejection, or even petty jealousy of a coworker, those emotions act as heavy anchors. They weigh down your consciousness and keep it locked firmly into the false program.
Oh, I see.
As long as your mind is furiously chasing those earthly desires, you remain safely asleep, perfectly embedded in the script. You will never uncover your true self as long as you harbor a desire to remain a normal person.
Which is terrifying. The idea that everything I want is just a tether keeping me asleep.
Hmm.
But at the exact same time, it's weirdly liberating. Because if human life is just this rigid, inescapable, agonizing escape room full of fake attachments, it begs the ultimate question. Where in the universe does total freedom actually exist? Is there a way out?
This is where we transition from the claustrophobia of human psychology out into the grand cosmic stage. Chauffang proposes that the universe isn't random. It's designed in incredibly strict proportions, overflowing with different structural programs for life. And across these realms, there is a rigid, measurable hierarchy of freedom.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because freedom isn't just a switch you flip on or off, it's a spectrum. The philosophy outlines that the lower realms, the dimensions closer to a hell state, have the absolute lowest degrees of freedom.
Right.
Think about plants. A plant is entirely anchored to its physical location. Its freedom is almost zero. Animals have slightly more mobility, but like our pig example, their freedom is entirely subjugated by human control and raw instinct. The pig can never self-actualize. It can never live out a true self.
Humans obviously possess more cognitive freedom than animals, but humanity is definitely not the top of the pyramid. And even within the human experience, there are strict tiers.
Tiers of humans.
Yes. According to the text, humans living within traditional family structures, traditional marriages, and traditional career paths actually have the least amount of freedom within our tier. They are completely bogged down by the societal friction and obligations we've been discussing.
They are basically running the most intensive, energy-draining software program.
Exactly.
Because the source material doesn't just leave us stranded there. It introduces a transitional concept called the New Oasis for Life.
Yes, the New Oasis for Life is a highly specific framework designed to help humans bypass what Chauffang calls the 36 mazes of life.
And we need to explain those mazes, because that sounds like a fantasy novel, but it's actually a deeply psychological concept.
It is. The 36 mazes of life are the psychological and societal labyrinths we willingly walk into every day. It's the maze of chasing endless wealth, only to realize you are still unhappy.
Right.
It's the maze of obsessing over your legacy or being trapped in a cycle of bitterness over your past relationship. When you are in a maze, you expend massive amounts of energy just running into dead ends, repeating the same mistakes over and over.
So exhausting.
The New Oasis for Life is conceptualized as a way of living, stepping outside of traditional ownership, ego, and nuclear family attachments that allows you to start running the maze. You gain a much higher degree of freedom, allowing your true self some breathing room.
But even stepping out of the maze isn't the finish line. The ultimate goal, the absolute pinnacle of this entire cosmic hierarchy, is a realm referred to as the Celestial Islands continent, the Elysium world.
The highest level.
Yeah, this is described as the highest conceivable level of heaven. And the mechanics of why it's the highest level are fascinating. It is the only place in the entirety of existence across all material and non-material worlds where you are utterly 100% free from all programs.
In the Elysium world, the friction is gone. You are no longer an actor playing a heavily constrained role in a societal play. You become the master designer.
Wow.
You are the director, and you are the screenwriter of your own pure existence. It is a state where life is completely self-decided.
If the human experience is an elaborate escape room, most people spend their entire 80 years on Earth just trying to rearrange the furniture.
That is so true.
They think they upgrade the couch, meaning they get a promotion or buy a boat or get a nicer house, that they're somehow winning the game.
Yeah.
But you don't beat an escape room by interior decorating. You only beat the game by unlocking the heavy door, walking out, and leaving the room entirely.
This raises an important question. How does one actually execute that exit? How do you leave the room and reach the Elysium world? The conclusion drawn in this philosophy is absolute. You cannot find your true self while remaining human.
Wow.
Just as a pig cannot find its ultimate true self while trapped in the biological form of a pig, a human cannot find its true self while trapped in the avatar of a human.
The software literally cannot process the upgrade. You have to change the hardware. You have to transcend.
Precisely. The text states that the mechanism for total freedom requires you to become a super celestial being.
Okay, but how?
By deeply aligning yourself with Tao and bringing your consciousness into absolute oneness with the greatest creator.
Let's break that down mechanically so it doesn't just sound like mystical poetry. What does aligning with Tao actually mean in this context?
Think of Tao and the greatest creator as the fundamental operating system of the entire universe. It is the core frequency of reality. Right now, your human avatar is vibrating at a jagged, chaotic frequency full of ego, attachments, and survival instincts.
All the static.
Yes, all the static. To become a super celestial being, you have to systematically strip away those attachments until your internal frequency perfectly matches the universe's core frequency.
Oh, I see.
When those two align, you achieve a state of pure self-consistency. There is no more friction. The biological robot programming is finally deleted, and the door to the escape room swings open.
We have journeyed through an incredibly dense, reality-bending landscape today. We started standing at that train station, staring at the terrifying 10% illusion of control, realizing that our most intimate choices might just be the output of an invisible true self pulling the strings.
We dissected the painful friction of the false self, uncovering the realization that society is a stage full of biological robots acting out a survival plot.
Yeah, and we looked straight at the profound danger of waking up to that reality too soon, avoiding the tragic fate of Oedipus or the terrified realization of the captive pig.
And we mapped out the cosmic hierarchy, scaling from the anchored existence of a plant through the societal labyrinths of the 36 mazes of life, all the way to the ultimate mechanism of transcendence, upgrading your cosmic operating system to become a super celestial being in the Elysium world.
It's a lot to process.
It really is. As you move through the rest of your day-to-day, I challenge you to run a simple diagnostic on your own life. Just observe. When you're sitting in a meeting or navigating a tense family dinner or even just chatting with a cashier, pay attention to the moments where you feel like you are reciting lines.
Oh, it is that internal friction.
Exactly.
Sure.
That sudden spike of stress when you have to perform a personality you don't actually feel. Recognize that feeling for what this philosophy says it is. It isn't just random anxiety. It is the muffled voice of your true self, trapped beneath the programming, desperately signaling its desire to be free.
It is a profound, heavy lens through which to view your Tuesday afternoon. But I want to leave you with one final, unwritten thought to mull over on your own. A thought that takes this entire philosophy one step further.
Oh,
Swefeng states that when you finally achieve that ultimate transcendence, when you arrive in the Elysium world, your true self becomes the undisputed master designer, the director, and the screenwriter of all plots.
yes.
You have total creative control.
Yes.
So, if your ultimate timeless true self is the one out there writing the cosmic scripts, is it possible that your true self actually wrote the exact frustrating, painfully restricted human script you are currently trapped in right now, just so it could experience the sheer, intoxicating thrill of trying to escape it?